I am so excited to introduce to you today Carolina Stukenberg. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Perfectly. That's perfect.
Very good. Carolina is a dynamic and influential women's creatrix transformologist, and we'll find out what that is in a few minutes. She's dedicated to empowering women to break free from detrimental cycles using her proven methods of mindset shifting and her heart healing that ultimately leads to a life of happiness. She believes there is no limit to women's empowerment. Good for you. Congratulations for your article being published in Authority magazine titled Five Effective Strategies for Mental Well-Being. She battled severe anxiety for many years, and you said that talk therapy and medications didn't help you. In your search for true healing, what did you discover?
I love that. I love that you ask. I began to realize that the system, the medical system with doctors, was just trying to medicate for anxiety and depression as if I was some kind of chemical deficient, which I knew wasn't the case because I work with gut health as a health chef, a health coach, and as a Creatrix Transformologist. And I went on a deep dive search through gut health and realized in my particular case, what was causing it for me was I had parasites and it caused extreme leaky gut. And so, upon exploring that even further, finding out how to heal my gut, everything started going away. And then the supplements was helping really all the micro processes that happen in my body. So things like magnesium and vitamin D3 and K2 and different types of probiotics. I had a complete change around in such a short space of time. And what also occurred to me at that time was that the doctors weren't saying, well, what's actually happening? What's causing you to be this stressed? What's causing you the anxiety in the first place? And so let's say go talk to a psychologist, but it wasn't really resolving the problem. It seems like I had had some traumatic events that had happened to me that caused extreme anxiety, panic attacks, lack of self-doubt, losing trust in myself, the world, everything. And the talk therapy was just making me more anxious. And
Yes.
understanding the gut brain connection, when I realized I needed to not only just heal my gut, I had to heal my mind so that this process would stop happening. I then went on a search to find out what would be the best for that. And that's where I came across Creatrix. And within a month of doing that, I had everything had just completely stopped. I could go back down into homeostasis. I could heal. And yeah, the panic and anxiety just stopped just like that within 4 weeks. And I continued on from there to then qualify to help all my women clients and change lives even further.
That is such an amazing story to have it shift that quickly. Excuse me. Please tell us exactly what is Creatrix Transformologist.
Right. So I'm a Creatrix transformologist. We call it transformology, what we do, or Creatrix. And it is a cutting edge, different kind of modality for women instead of like NLP or hypnotherapy. It it's not a hypnotherapy and it's not NLP and it's not any other kind of therapy. It just works with getting women to go in really, really deeply into their inner wisdom. They close their eyes, they go for an experience, they're not even in the story, they don't have to rehash their entire trauma or event or what the problem is. And they come out with really deep epigenetic cellular level healing, where we've had some women actually have physical tests proving it. And it's been an amazing, amazing journey seeing women have a change around from such low self-esteem or self-doubt where they overthink to paralysis and being able to overcome that in a short space of time, oftentimes not even remembering how bad the problem was before. So we specifically record before and after videos so they can see and compare. And it's just an amazing modality that really gets women life-changing results. One of the women today we were speaking to, still 11 years later, hasn't had an incident come up since she's had Creatrix, which is just mind-blowing because other systems out there I've tried, like, going to psychologists for problems, and you think you've gotten over a problem, and then you haven't, and then an issue comes up, and everything raises its head again. And I just felt like, what am I doing if I'm not getting better? I thought I dealt with these things. And that was the difference with Creatrix for me and thousands of other women, actually.
I am so excited to hear this, and I wish I'd known about it 50 years ago.
I
I've,
know, right? Uh,
I've done so much work on healing past trauma and my negative beliefs about myself. And, I've made a lot of progress, but it's taken a long time and a lot of work. So to hear about a process that can create that deep a transformation that quickly is just amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And some of the women that we've had have come, your age and even older, just realizing it's never too late to really heal, let go, forgive, and smile and laugh. I mean, one of the women was telling me how, after she did creating, she just dances all the time. And she's a single older woman. Her life partner passed away. She'd had quite a lot of experiences, but for her, it was well worth it. And her bond with her kids had there was a lot of healing around that. I think sometimes mother-daughter bonds can be complicated. And it's just beautiful to see that it can be so effective for a range of women at any stage in their life, It's never too late.
That's so exciting. So
Yeah.
your path to get here was difficult. You had failures and discouragement that ultimately led to your discovery of anxiety treatments that work for you. What are the main components of your personal healing?
Mine was definitely, eating good, real food. I think taking care of one's body, taking care of one's mind, and taking care of one's soul, your heart, your spirit. I think we need to look at the whole person. And that's really where my journey began after all the incidences and traumas and my learning experience through food and then nutrition, then gut health, and then the nervous system and the mind, realizing it's not just one aspect of us. It can be a whole aspect. And we as women live in a hormonal cyclical pattern. We go through different phases in our life and it affects us very differently. Literally, women cope with stress very differently to men. And so we were trying the same things over and over again and not getting these results. So when I came across all of this information about and gut health is a fledgling science today. It's becoming a lot more popular than it ever was before. Realizing how, like, for example, leaky gut, when your gut lining is actually broken and particles are entering your blood system and your body starts reacting under physical stress, it's going to create emotional and mental stress as well. But the other way as well, women under extreme emotional and mental stress will then affect their gut and stop absorbing nutrients. And this messes with their hormones, it messes with everything. So in my journey, having been through some terrible things, I'm sure if you read more stories about me, I'm open to sharing, of course, everything. And there's my personal video on my own site.
Mhm.
But I realized it had to be the whole package. We had to look at it from every angle. And since exploring all of those, have never even looked back. And I'm now in my, early 40s, healthy, fit. People look at me, how are you doing it? You look so good. You don't worry about your weight and how you feeling. I'm great. I'm wonderful. Thank you for asking, and I think that's the trick is we need to follow our natural instinct as women to truly heal the whole woman.
Everything is connected, and so many doctors and psychologists and this professional and that professional, they only treat one piece. So
Exactly.
I was so impressed when I read your story because you're the only one that has written about healing from anxiety that mentions the role of good supplements and probiotics. So you just began to tell us about their role in your healing. Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I mean, in terms of the supplements that I found work the best, and I'm my own best experiment as well, I guinea pig on myself, but as well as for other women that I've worked with, particularly was the wider variety of probiotics that are live. So one that you're gonna have to keep in the fridge, or it's a really high in quality. There's things like seed, biome, microbiome has some great probiotics as well. They have, Akkermansia is quite a new probiotic that's come out, and it's been shown to be really effective with people with anxiety and depression. Any type of bifidobacterium, which is quite common, but there's a lot of varieties of them. So that family of probiotics, as well as the lactobacillus family, and there's I think 10 different kinds of them. So what I tell clients, women specifically, is definitely go and keep, if you see kombucha, if you see kefir, if you see yogurt and you can tolerate dairy, or do kefir, there's milk kefir and water kefir, eat your sauerkraut, eat fermented foods, and take probiotics as often as you can. There is a massive difference that happens to them. Not only that, they're absorbing better nutrients. So then the body functions start to get better. The other supplements that I found had the most radical impression for me, for myself and others as well, was magnesium glycerate, actually, glycinate. And, specifically one woman I was working with, within 2 weeks, I mean, she wasn't on any antidepressants. She'd gotten off everything. Nothing had really made her feel better. And within 2 weeks of that, she started to feel like herself for the first time. And that for me was proving to me again how powerful really good quality supplements, the right ones for us, can change the way we function. And so, subsequently, when she gets off of it, she notices the difference, within 2, 3 weeks or a month, and she goes back on it. So there is maybe some metabolic issues going on in her body from long-term stress, all right, because I know her story. Other supplements that I found incredibly beneficial was L-theanine, is an amino acid as well, specifically for women, and then a really good vitamin B complex, not just any one that you swallow, specifically the ones that come in a jar that are sublingual and you absorb it immediately. Those have the biggest impact for giving you that energy, especially when you're low on energy and you want to, if you feel physically burnt out and anxious and low, that vitamin B complex is going to do so much wonders. And then the last real combination is the D3 and K2 combination. Now, for women getting older and our bone density and our moods, the magnesium, the D3, and the K2 is like a magic recipe. So this would be the basics of high quality supplements I would recommend to any woman out there looking to make a difference to her health. And that can be, I say, women anywhere from the age of 28 and up, and omega-3 anti-inflammatories as well.
I'm writing these down for myself. I take a wide variety of supplements, but you mentioned a couple I don't think I've included. You changing the subject a little bit, you recommend embracing your journey. What does that look like in real life?
Oh, I think sometimes when I speak to some of our fellow women, they resist life. They're already in a place where they're angry or they're distrustful or they don't have faith and they don't know what their purpose is or where they're going. And when I say embrace it, I mean in the sense that with big responsibility comes big power. And that's how we take our power back. When we take responsibility for our life, for our happiness, for our emotional, mental well-being, and physical well-being, that's when we really embrace meeting our life and allowing things to flow. We put things out into the universe from a place of we are self-loving ourselves enough to embrace it. And that way we find our way. And I've seen that come up over and over and over again.
I love the whole concept of taking responsibility for yourself because the opposite is blaming this or that or something else. And blame is not the way to health. In the
No,
article, in the
no.
article, you mentioned two periods of time when you were so overwhelmed that you experienced panic attacks. You mentioned the importance of a small supportive community that helped you during that time. What did this community do for you?
Oh, wow. Support is an underrated thing, I think, that we as a society are starting to forget, but they were there. Some of them would pick up the phone and just call me and say, "Hi, are you okay? I'm thinking about you. I miss you. I love you. I'm checking up on you."
Yeah.
Some of those people in my support system were a little bit harder on me and were telling me to, pull yourself together. You're strong. You can do this. Believe in yourself and don't, blame and play victim. You've got to move forward, and pushed me. Some of them were support systems. So in those times, I would look for some counseling or therapy or somebody to talk to, because I also felt that at those times, loading everything onto the people closest to you is a very big burden for them to carry. Sometimes they also just need a break, but family as well, close family, brothers and sisters, anyone that really cared for me and had the time in those space. And for me to understand that not everyone can make time for me during the hardest times of my life. They also have their own things going on. So just accepting the support from wherever it came from. Some of that support for me came from across the globe. Some of it was in emails, some phone calls, Zoom calls, all different types. Others were more in person, just time spent together, let's say on the weekends with girlfriends, my female community that make me feel really loved and support, and really just talking about things, or putting the box aside and just letting ourselves have a good day and pretending it didn't exist for a while, allowed peace into my life, right? And so ensuring that I wouldn't just fall into a rut. Or I loved how one of my friends came over one day and she said, no, no, you're not staying hiding inside anymore. Come, I'm taking you out. We're going to go do something. And she surprised me. And even though I was definitely not in the mood, she'd taken me out to the wine farms just for a drive and to go and have lunch. And it did me wonders to know that she could just sit in silence and support me and do something.
Having a community that supports you is so important for all levels of health. What lessons did you learn through these experiences that you maintain today?
Wow, oh, so much. Where do I begin? I think one of the biggest realizations I've had is raising our emotional intelligence as women. We are emotional human beings, and we don't really get taught as we grow up how to grow emotionally. We feel so intensely and we connect so many things to those emotions in our lives. And as I grew older and went through these experiences, I realized I was still quite immature in that way. I would react emotionally. I'd make life decisions based on emotions. And they're not untrue. They do tell us the truth. They are our inner compass, but it is not the defining factor, not necessarily the best moment to make a decision. We have to balance that out, and realizing that through trauma and those experiences, our sensitivity gets much higher. So our emotional intelligence gets dumbed down. So by retraining ourselves emotionally to know what's a balanced response to something
Mhm.
is key. So raising emotional intelligence was really important for me. And then the other one really that I'll never ever forget as well is always honoring yourself first. Self-love, the most radical self-love. First comes you as a priority. And I've so many women care about everybody else first and put themselves last. And that is the biggest pitfall for myself. It caused me many issues, and I've heard it from other women as well. And I feel like we need to really celebrate more self-love, more self-practice, self-consideration, and making ourselves a priority. Live life in a way that makes you happy and do things that make you happy. Don't deny yourself, even if you're a busy mom with 100 kids running around. They're going to have no one standing there if you're not feeling well. So first you, and then they must understand and watch that. And I wish I'd grown up seeing more of that through other women. And I hope to inspire other women when I'm really old and gray to say, these are the things I wish I'd known when I was your age. So here to share that message.
If we don't take care of keeping ourselves happy, we end up living life from a place of resentment. You know,
100%. Exactly.
and I found it so helpful to have I have a giant list of feeling words. It helps me to name a feeling, to really, thoroughly embrace it. You also said action alleviates stress. Give us an example of that for yourself.
Perfect. Perfect. Some days it's really busy for me, or when I started my business, things like I've got a long list to do. I've got to publish a social media post. I've got to write a magazine article. I've got to plan for my podcast. I've got to interview a potential client. And you've got all these things to do and you feel overwhelmed. So the longer it sits there on your list of things to do, the more stressful it becomes. And so, kind of like Mel Robbins said, the 5 second rule, just count down five, four, three, two, one, do. And by the time you get to the action, you haven't pulled yourself away from it. You can't procrastinate anymore. And I just found that as soon as you take action, you realize, oh, I'm just going to resolve the problem as we go. And then I'll work out the next step, even if it's frustrating. And you get through it. And by the end of the day, like, I did it. And
Mhm.
that is the ability of not being the football of your emotions, then. You are actually owning your life. You're not allowing these triggers to stop you from living your life and achieving your goals. And that's such a powerful thing to have.
I have a question about this because I've always got a list of things that need to be done. How
Oh,
do you
yeah.
decide when it's more important to stop and do something for yourself? How do you
Oh,
balance?
love that. I love this question. So, I mean, that's a hard one to answer because I think we all feel like we have to be workaholics and we're not doing enough. But the honest truth is, when I sit down and or I'm doing my work and I feel overwhelmed or I feel like my mind is stuck,
Yes,
then I go and take a walk. I'm fortunate where I live, there's a forest down the road. I'll go take a hike for an hour. That downtime allows my brain to relax. I can think outside of the box. I don't have a screen in front of me. I am moving, which is physically healthy. I'm in nature, so I'm grounding. I literally sit out there. I'll take a 5 minute breather of meditation and I'll find that space. Or if it's a really cold day, I'll actually get into a little short yoga session, for example. This is my kind of things that I like to do, or a breathing exercise like Wim Hof, and just try and switch off.
yes,
And I find that whenever I come back to those projects, I realize I'm a lot more clear-minded and motivated. Also, one of the things that I find is prioritizing. What is that? What needs to be done like today urgently? And what doesn't need to be done today, put on the, okay, it's possibly could be done today, but today I have to do these and make sure it's doable. Nothing too big, not too many things, make it achievable.
because not everything on the list is urgent. And yet, as a workaholic in my past, I treated everything as though it was urgent. And I never got around to treating myself. Thank you for that reassurance
Absolutely.
that there are
Mhm.
times when you just set aside the list and go do something that is nurturing. Then you come back and you can handle the list with more efficiency.
You know,
I,
I would say to any woman out there, you think, no, I can't do that. I don't have the time. I'd be like, go test it, see it. I mean, if you can get on a bicycle at the gym or go have a coffee with a friend,
yes.
for half an hour. Honestly, test it out, and you tell me it doesn't work for you, I'd be very surprised. We overstimulated today in society as it is, so we need that space. We do.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. So for those of you who are viewing this video interview, I urge you to read the entire article, 5 Effective Strategies for Mental Well-Being. There are multiple links to resources provided by Carolina Stukenberg. You can find her at Carolina D. Period Carta, KARTRA.com. Thank you so much for spending these few minutes with me today. You've given me some practical things I'm going to put into practice right away, and I'm so intrigued with the process that you do.
Absolutely, absolutely. And any questions or any extra details, information, just reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to share. The more lives I can change, the more women that we heal, the better the world would be.
I love that purpose. What a magnificent purpose. Thank you, Carolina. I appreciate it.
That's my honor. Much appreciated. Same to you, Nancy.
Bye bye.
Bye.